Hello, Lemonade Learners. This is Christy Northrup, the Lemonade Lady, and I'm here to teach you some ideas about connecting your calendar to your checkbook. If you have my very popular CD, which is called Connect Your Calendar to Your Checkbook, these will be even more ideas that are not on that CD. And if you don't have this CD, be sure to visit lemonadelady.com and pick up your own copy. Right now, what I want to show you is my actual calendar from when I was holding parties as a party plan consultant. So let's turn the pages of my actual calendar. And before I turn the page, though, I want to tell you that you want to make sure that you save all of your calendars. This calendar was actually a gift given back to me from one of my friends after I had moved from the Detroit metro area. And after I moved, or when I was moving, I gave this to my friend and said, here are some names of people that you might want to contact. Now, I got smart. I only gave those names to people a couple of times when I moved. And then I will tell you about a twist later on that I did, and that will be in another segment. But let's turn here to the calendar. I lived in mid-Michigan, and we were moving just 100 miles away. And back in those days of Party Plan, our company did not have a downline policy. In fact, we were territorial. So even though I was only moving 100 miles away, I had to start my business from scratch, all the way completely over. I didn't get to keep as much as sales credit. Nothing. Fortunately, I had a great support team with my, what we would call now, upline, my sales leaders. And of course, our company did have some other perks that I was able to take advantage of. But you'll see right here, this is what my calendar looked like. It was pretty empty. Now, one thing I love, this was a calendar that our company, in fact, I was with Tupperware, in case you don't know that. I love the way, first of all, they provided us with a date book. I'm not sure what their policy is now, but if your company doesn't provide you with some kind of a calendar, be sure that you put a calendar together for your new consultants. But you'll notice that this is a week at a glance, and that's really what I love looking at. I love month at a glance first, and then I like to go to a week at a glance. So here we are. This is June 30th, and you can tell that I don't have any parties on my book. I have a few appointments, and that's important to note, that I did make appointments to go see people. These could have been people that I met at the grocery store, or just referrals from friends that my kids were getting to know. So now let's turn the page. You'll see that I actually, on, looks like July the 10th of that year, had a party. Woohoo! I had one party. Whoops. You can tell I might be a really good party plan person, but camera person, I'm looking. All right. So I had a party. Now notice that it's on in the middle of that page because our calendars were sectioned off so that each day was divided into thirds. And if you don't have a calendar that has that sectioning, go ahead and section off yourself. Because that, to me, I don't know why the company did it, quite frankly, but to me, in my mind, I knew that I could hold more than one party in a day, and that it didn't take all day to hold a party. All right, so we'll look at that too, that week spread. It looks like one party. And I do teach on Connect Your Calendar to Your Checkbook to always highlight where your parties are or where you want them to be. Now you'll notice here, I did have one that looks like it canceled, didn't I? That happened sometime. I had to cross her right out. And also notice, as I've been discussing on my blog, which is directsalesgab.com, again, that's directsalesgab.com, that I've been given some hints, and one of them is to be sure that you put all of your host information right on your calendar. So you'll notice that I have these persons, I have their address, I have their phone number, and this is an old calendar, so I don't think if you even saw those numbers, you'd want to call them, but won't get too close just to protect their privacy. Anyhow, let's turn the page. This is now my third week in Detroit. Notice that I put right here, it says party here. That means I did a party at my house. Really good idea. In fact, I met one of my very best customers, who had become one of my best customers. Her name was Jenny, and she lived in the same complex where I lived. Now, I met Jenny because I took the flyers and I took them and knocked on the doors. I didn't leave them on the door. That's an extra hint for you. All right, so you'll see, look at the green highlights. Oh my goodness, I had 3 parties. and I'd been there for about 19 days. I moved the first part of July. So this is where I was contacting people on a regular basis using the ideas that I teach in Connect Your Calendar to Your Checkbook. All right, so the next week, so my third week in that area, you'll see that I had some other hosts. Now, this is important. You see where it says right here, Recruit with Priscilla? That was my friend Priscilla, and I actually put time for recruiting on my calendar. What a concept. Are you doing that? Because that's the only way you're going to get more recruits, is you have to make sure that you schedule the time for recruiting. All right, let's turn the page now, because we're going to advance a couple months. I'm not going to show you the entire year. That would be quite boring for you all. But you are going to learn some things as we actually go through the year, just not week by week. Again, you'll see I've got a couple of parties there. One thing I wanted to point out is that you always want to book close in. And that was really one of the secrets from my moving, is that I didn't wait for a month to hold a party. Now, just recently, I was reading in a women's magazine, and it gave some great stories about people that had successes in the party plan industry. Well, I was just really taken back by one of the comments that said, always book out at least a month. And I am here to tell you that is wrong, wrong, wrong. Let me back up and ask you, if you were wanting to book a party so that you could earn free product and or just get the merchandise from the company, would you want to wait 6 weeks to get it? You know, that's one of the complaints, if any, that people have about Party Plan, is that things have to be ordered. And if the longer people wait to hold a party, the longer that they have to wait to get their product. So, no, you don't have to wait. Did you see how fast I booked parties in? This is just typical how Party Plan can work, and it did for me for almost 20 years. All right, so you'll see a few things here. Now I've got more bookings. Let's see, we've got how many of my green highlights here. Now, I've highlighted these areas today actually for you to be able to see how I worked. Now, I was pretty good in those days. I knew exactly the nights I worked. I knew my schedule. I didn't have to have a visual, because at this time I'd been in the business for 6 years. So my nights to work were Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's when I would want to go out and actually hold parties. Now, once a month, on Monday, I had a sales meeting. But other than that, Monday was our family home evening night for my kids. Friday was my date night for my husband. Now, if my kids had an event, like maybe they had a school play, or you'll see things in here that talk about soccer games and dental appointments, you know, they did come first. And so if on Thursday night my son had an important soccer game, and I say important because, you know what, they didn't want me to be at every single game. Dad was there and Mom didn't have to be. But I wanted to go on a regular basis, and I would trade work for work. So maybe that week, instead of holding a party on Thursday night, I would do it Friday, and I would suggest a couples party to my host, and then my husband and I would do our date night along with going out to work. The reason I'm showing you this page right here, if you look closely, it's the month of December. So it's December 22nd, and it looks like right here, December 23rd. So you can see closely December 24th. And you'll notice I just have squiggles all the way through there, because I take the 2 weeks off, the week before Christmas and the week after Christmas. So I wanted to show you that all you have to do is block that out. Is that simple? Now, could you do that in a regular job? I don't think so. Well, maybe, but not a lot of companies allow you to do that. Something else that was helpful to me is that at the end of the year, I would also go right in what my mileage was on my car. Here we go, right here. So here it is, January the 1st, and you can see right here, January the 1st, and then I have my mileage. So I kept a separate mileage logbook, but this just helped me so that I knew where I was starting and stopping from the year before. Just one little hint for you there. Okay, so now I've been in this new city I've been there for July, August, September, October, November, December, 6 full months, and this is January. Now, a lot of people say nobody wants to hold parties in January. Well, and I won't, show you the names exactly, but as I reviewed this, a lot of these names were people that had already done parties with me in the fall and just were anxious to rebook. So that's another way that I really built my business. Oh, one more thing I was going to show you, and I forgot. Thank heavens for videos. Back here, some of my first parties, this will be a hint for those of you that do relocate, actually came from referrals from where I had lived before. So on this particular day, well, maybe I can't get to it right away, but it's important to show you this, because if you are relocating, right here, this one, this name right here named Sherry, and it has this is actually her sister-in-law, whom I knew, and in fact, I still keep in touch with her through my sister-in-law, in my first town. So what I did is when I moved, I let people know where I was going to, and I was in the same state, so a lot of people knew and had relatives down near, we called it downstate, and so I was able to get several hostesses that way. In fact, my very first recruit came from a referral from, in fact, that was Bonnie right here, Bonnie Braumeyer. Isn't this so fun? It's like, you know, as I call it, my business scrapbook. And she was on August the 13th, so I hadn't been there quite 6 weeks, and she became my first consultant, too. So I wanted to give you that little extra bonus of listening to this video. Okay, so just quickly, you saw going into the year that, yes, indeed, people do hold parties, and that I had a pretty good lineup here. You can see that it's pretty messy. One reason I'm showing you this is not that any of you would doubt that I held a lot of parties, but this really shows how I did it, too. Okay, so there's January. We're going to look in here. Now you're getting to where, you know, I'm holding about 4 or 5 parties a week. And one of the fun things that I noticed as I was going through here, I think it's on this next paper clip, maybe not, that I did what I called a delivery party. Let me see where I did that. I thought I had all these little paper clipsies together. Well, I'll just tell you the concept of it. That in those days, in the old-fashioned days of Party Plan, we actually delivered product. And now I know that it gets shipped directly many times to the host. But if you have the option and you can choose to deliver it yourself, then I would do that and ask the host to have any of her friends that weren't able to come to the party to come to the delivery party. And you don't have to even take a kit, because you can just show things right out of the orders that people have. It is so easy and so fun. And, you know, it took me half an hour, and I was able to get a few more orders. She could count that as a second booking if it works for your company. So that was in here someplace. Now, what I want to do is flip right to now where it's been a year. You'll see it says July the 6th. And look how many parties. This is my first year. Well, I guess technically I was the next page before that. But we were going camping that week. So I wanted to show you my first week that I was there all the week long. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parties just within a week's time. So I'm showing you this again, not to say, look how great I was, but I want you to know that, you know what, I'm just like any of you. I was a young mom. I started my business when I was 22 years old. We lived in that city for 6 years. Then we moved to Detroit, where I just showed you. After we had been there for 3 years, we moved across country to Salt Lake City. And in another video clip, I'll show you how I actually booked 2 parties a night because of some challenges that I had there. And then I moved out to Chicago. Then we moved back to Utah. Then we've lived in Texas. So everywhere I go, I know I can build a business when I'm really disciplined, and I know that I can always count on myself. So let's just do a couple quick reminders here that if you want to build a strong business, if you don't know anybody, and that's usually the reason why people say, oh, I just can't do anything with Party Plan right now, I just don't know enough people, then if you really want to build a business, you've got to work every day. That it doesn't have to be for 3 hours. It can just be 3 phone calls. You need to highlight when you're going to work, and that's what I talk about in this CD right here. Make sure that you divide your calendar, your days, into more than one segment. You can do 3 or 5 segments or 6, whatever works for you, because it doesn't take but 2 hours, or it shouldn't take but 2 hours to do a party. So if you want to, you could do multiple parties in a day. Always book in close. And that's one reason I had paper clips on my calendar, because I knew I didn't want to go any further than where my paper clip was. Once in a while I might have to, if someone was moving, or they just held a party a week ago and they wanted to book out for a few more months, then I would do that. But otherwise, I didn't want people to be waiting to get their products. And as you know, the longer that they wait, then they sometimes tend to rearrange, as I say, or another word for cancellation. Okie dokie. So make sure that you book in close. Write everything on your calendar so you know how to contact your host, including her address and her email address. Always mark out your family time and your vacation time. Indicate your car mileage on your calendar. And in fact, it really is a good idea if you just keep your mileage log inside whatever form of contact or calendar that you use. Now, look at this. Look at the results a year later. As I showed you, I had to go through an entire year until I got up to where I really wanted, because my goal was to hold 5 parties every week. I mean, that's 10 to 12 hours away from home. That isn't too much. And I made really good income. So, but I had to go for almost that year until I got to where I wanted to be. It reminds me of my washing machine. Washing machines and other appliances, and in fact life, it's cyclic. Everything goes through a cycle. And if you were washing a load of clothes and it got on the rinse cycle and you thought, I wish this would hurry up, I want to wear this blouse. Well, you wouldn't take it out during the rinse cycle. You would wait for it to spin out, right? Well, you got to make sure you go through at least a year of your company's cycle. There are up and down times. There's times that we wash and times we dry and times that we spin around. So make sure that you go through that entire year, and then hold on to your calendars. This has been so fun for me to go back and to look at my calendars, and not only to think of my business success, but more importantly, I look at these names, and even many, many years later, as I said, most of these people probably don't live where they did then. Their phone numbers are probably disconnected, but how fun it is to go back and to think of all the friends that I made while I was profiting and connecting my calendar to my checkbook. Remember, you can pick up your own copy of Connect Your Calendar to Your Checkbook when you go to lemonadelady.com. lemonadelady.com, or you can even visit partyplanpeople.com, and be sure to regularly visit my direct sales blog, which is directsalesgab.com. Until next time, keep twisting so that you will create gallons of sweet successes and juicy profits. From the Lemonade Lady.